Water is 800 times more dense than air, and that's why it's so important to master the skills that I share in this video. Whether you're a beginner swimmer or you're more advanced, here I'm going to show you how to push off the wall correctly, and I'm also going to share the 5 biggest mistakes that I see swimmers make time and time again. So first of all, we need to define Streamline. Streamline is the fundamental body position in swimming. It's often referred to as the 5th stroke. And that's because when you see the best swimmers in the world, they're pushing off the wall in this streamline, they're diving in, they're going so fast, up to 9 kilometers per hour. You might be thinking to yourself, well, that's great, but maybe I do triathlon or open water swimming. Doesn't matter. There are some fundamental things with your streamline, the way that you push off the wall, that actually impact how you swim after you push off the wall. Because remember, you're moving fastest when you push off the wall. The rest of the length of the pool, whether you swim in a 25-meter pool, a 50-meter pool, a 10-meter pool, you're basically decelerating. So you want to set up your body to maximize and leverage that initial speed that you have when you push off the wall. So I want to define this a little bit further with some beautiful illustrations that I have drawn for you guys. Please give me a like down below if you like my illustrations. So I have a top view of 3 different swimmers pushing off the wall. Then I have a horizontal view. So as if you were watching someone, and let's say the wall was right here. I just drew the wall, and then from a top-down position, we're going to pretend this is the wall. We have these 3 swimmers pushing off the wall. So I have 3 examples. I have good, bad, and ugly. So let's start with the ugly, right? Let's start with the ugly, but work our way up. So the ugly demonstration is right here. So you see the swimmer pushing off the wall, and the arms are completely separated in the Superman position. The legs are separated. And what I have here for reference is the amount of displacement that the swimmer has. So this is how much physical space they're actually disrupting the flow through the water. And remember, water is 800 times more dense than air. And so because of this, we want to minimize the amount of drag that we have. There is a reason why a torpedo and a fish, they go so fast through the water, because they're not occupying that much space. So this is the ugly version. If we were to assign something, maybe that's 1 meter wide. So right there, that's how much space they're occupying. Now let's go from ugly to bad. So here we have the swimmer has brought their legs together. That's good. So we have a small gap right here. Maybe that's only 10 centimeters. But the arms are still spread out. And so as you can see, this is the highest amount of resistance right at the very beginning. So the water is crashing on this person's elbows and their head, and this is disrupting them. So even though their feet are narrow, their upper body is still occupying so much space. So we're gonna give them a 0.75 meter displacement. And then of course we have the great swimmer right here in the middle. They've been able to bring their feet together, bring their hands together, and this is why it's so important. This swimmer here is occupying 0.3 meters. And this swimmer can literally go 2 or 3 times as fast and go further off the wall, off the push, and carry that speed into the stroke. So I think this is pretty obvious. I think we understand that. Let me know down below in the comments if that doesn't make any sense. We want to move on to the horizontal view, because this is where I believe the magic happens and how this relates to every level of swimmer. So let me explain how it works. When you push off the wall, this is the wall. The swimmer is in a streamlined position. I'm going to break down the mechanics of exactly how you do this, but I want to stress how important this is. When you push off the wall, the eyes are looking down and the body is in a narrow plane. The more narrow you can get this plane, right, that's the displacement, the faster and the further you will go. Now, a lot of swimmers are actually pretty good at putting their hands together and pushing off the wall in streamline, but what happens is their legs might drift up or down. And that just happens naturally when you push off the wall. Remember, the whole point of this video is to show you how to push off the wall so you can get the most out of this. So when you sink down, you want to make sure you have a 90-degree angle from when your body is leaving. I see a lot of swimmers, they're pushing off and their feet are too high to the surface or too low to the surface. You're pushing down, you're pushing up, and that displacement is now so much larger if you had just put your feet in the right position. And this takes practice. You know, I'm talking about it on a whiteboard, and I understand when you go to the pool, you practice this 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, a few hundred. I push off the wall at least several 100,000 times, maybe millions of times, right? The more you do it, the more you're going to be able to refine how you push off the wall. Here's another thing that's really important. We'll talk about the position. It's your head position. If you lift your head up and you're looking at the other end of the pool, what's going to happen to your legs? Your legs are going to sink. And as a result, instead of this beautiful horizontal line to the plane of the water, you're going to be at an angle and your displacement is going to be that much larger. So you're going to displace more water and you're going to go slower because remember, the water is 800 times more dense than air. So now that I've stressed the importance of why this matters and how you can apply it no matter what level of swimmer that you are, now we're going to think about the process of how do you actually do the perfect streamline? What does that look like? I broke it down in 3 steps for you. Number 1, it's your hand position. And you can practice this with me right now. That's how amazing this is. So regardless of where you're watching, do this with me. One hand over the other. You want your top hand, your thumb, is actually going to grab the bottom hand. Now, you don't want to be in the prayer pose. We'll talk about mistakes. I'm giving a little bit away. This is one of the mistakes a lot of swimmers make. They're in the prayer pose. No. We want to have one hand over the other. Your top hand, if you can, your thumb grabs it. Next up, we want to focus on our head position. So just because you have your hands in the right position, if your head is sticking up, right, you push off the wall like this, the water is coming in, it's going to smash your face and it's going to slow you down. So you have to drop your head into the streamlined position, and when you push off the wall, from the top view, you're going to look like this, and from the horizontal view, you're going to look like this. The third part is the body position. Remember how I mentioned if you push off at an angle, either up or down, and this applies to turns as well, it's actually going to disrupt that perfect streamline position. So there you have it, 3 steps. Now I want to tell you one of my favorite drills. We're actually going to play some B-roll of Caleb Dressel. That's right, the fastest swimmer in the world. We're going to put some of him right on the screen. What you're going to do is you're going to push off the wall or diving block, and you're going to hold the perfect streamline, and you're not going to do anything. You're not going to kick. You're just going to float. And your goal is to go as far as you can. You want to practice your core stability. You want to make sure your body is as neutral as possible. You might notice that your legs drift to the side. They float up. They float down. You feel like you can't hold your breath. These are all important considerations, but when you practice this a few times, you're going to start to have more body awareness and more core awareness, and it's going to make it that much easier to go further and further every single time. Because remember, the whole point of doing this is so you can maximize and maintain your speed when you push off the water. So we'll play a few times Caleb Dressel and other swimmers doing this where you really maximize that float. A lot of swimmers make the mistake of pushing off as hard as they can and they kick right away. Slow down, take a deep breath before you push off the wall. And then when you push off the wall, you're actually going to leverage that speed and hold it a little bit longer. Now you might be thinking to yourself, well crap, I can't hold my breath that long in the first place, and that's why I want to thank today's video sponsor, AeroFit. The AeroFit breathing trainer helps you improve your breath efficiency, anaerobic threshold, and accessible lung capacity, which will give you the edge that you need to swim faster and helps you hold your breath longer off the wall. You start with a guided lung capacity test in the AeroFit Sport app, and then you'll begin a swimming-specific training program. It takes just 5 to 10 minutes a day, and it's super easy. Sessions like the circle or the square teach you how to control your breath in specific patterns, and breath-holding exercises help you keep your head underwater for longer. After 4 weeks of training with AeroFit, I increased my accessible lung capacity by over 25%. The app was super easy to use and gives me real-time feedback. It feels like a video game, and it's pretty sweet. I've talked about the AeroFit on this channel a lot, how it's helped me, and I really think it's gonna help you guys as well, and you'll see huge benefits with the breathing trainer too. Use the link in the description below to get 15% off the AeroFit breathing trainer. This discount is just for the MySwimPro fans, so I know you guys are gonna love it. Thanks again to AeroFit for sponsoring this video, and let's go ahead and get back into it. Now I want to share with you some of the biggest mistakes that swimmers are making. I previewed a few of them. These are all really, really important that I see swimmers make over and over. I'm also going to share what you should do about it so that way you can make corrective improvements over time. Number 1 is having the wrong hand position. I often see swimmers in this prayer pose, but actually even the most advanced swimmers, I see a lot of them, they're holding their hands in really funky, weird ways. You know, I've seen some swimmers, they lock their thumbs like this. I see other swimmers, they have they're sort of grabbing one and then the other. Other swimmers, their hands aren't even touching each other. Now, a lot of this does depend on your flexibility, but I will say, regardless of your age and your gender and how many years you've been swimming, If you work on improving this every single day, every time you push off the wall, you will make progress. You will improve your flexibility, and you can improve and reduce your likelihood for injury because you're improving your flexibility and you have more mobility around your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, and hands. So number one mistake is just having the wrong hand position. We already talked about step number one, how to get the right hand position. You can stick your arms out right in front of you. Your top hand, regardless of what hand, right or left, whatever your top hand is, your thumb grabs the underhand, and you should have your fingers lined up one over the other. You shouldn't really have one hand way taller than the other. Again, if your arms are relatively the same length, you should line them up, one hand over the other, and that's the perfect position. Next up is flexibility and locking out your elbows and then putting your arms behind your head so you match this beautiful illustration here. Now, the second mistake is what I just alluded to. It's the arm position. So either having bent elbows or not being able to align your arms into this torpedo position. That's a very common mistake. Again, flexibility can improve both number one and number two, but it's not going to happen today. So don't try and stress yourself out if you're like, holy cow, I have no chance of being able to reach the position that I see in these videos and what he's doing on the whiteboard right now. It's okay. Takes time. Maybe it'll happen in a few days, in a few weeks, in a few months, a few years. But if you do work on it, you will make progress. And as close as you can get to this ideal figure, the faster you go, the faster you'll transfer your speed off the wall into the stroke. Now, the third one here is the head position. This lines up nicely with the three-step process. See what I did there? You want to make sure your head position is neutral. That means you're not looking up, you're not looking down too much. You're really in a comfortable neutral position. When you push off the wall, your eyes should be looking down. Now, you might have enough flexibility where you can actually move your head around within the pocket of where your arms are. So I can do this. A lot of top swimmers can do this, and you actually see them pushing off the wall with the underwater cameras, and they're actually looking around in a race while maintaining their arms absolutely straight. Now, there's a few reasons why you don't want to do that, but the main is that it distracts you from what you're focused on, which is swimming in your own lane. So keep your eyes down and don't look anywhere. Okay, here we go. Number four, it's the drifting leg. So I showed up here a few examples of what that might look like. This is the ugly version where the legs are literally just drifting apart. Now, this can happen when you push off the wall. It can also happen, and I'm guilty of this, when you dive in. So it's very easy, once you understand this concept and you have motor control of your body, to actually just push off the wall and then hold your legs together. And once you have this awareness, you might realize, oh my God, every time I pushed off the wall, my legs weren't even together. And so you have this image, and you can easily correct yourself to this image. But it can actually happen when you dive off the block or off the wall and you enter the water like this. And I've been guilty to this as well. You just have to have some awareness and really focus on that. Do it a few hundred times and you'll be good to go. And finally, it's not being consistent. This is probably the biggest mistake that swimmers make when it comes to how to push off the wall correctly. It's being lazy when you start to fatigue, not focusing on this. This is one of those things, because you push off the wall, whether you swim in a 25 or a 50-meter pool, you do it so many times every single workout, you have an opportunity to improve this. And remember, this is important even if you swim in open water, triathlon, or you don't even care about how fast your turns are. You want to leverage the speed from when you push off the wall into your stroke so that it actually makes your body position better and you swim with more speed. Because at the end of the day, we want to swim with more efficiency, we want to have more power, and we want to enjoy the sport of swimming that much more. So if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know what questions you have down below in the comments, and I'm doing video responses on the MySwimPro channel. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you go over there and you'll see my video responses. Wish you the best and happy swimming.